what exactly is the difference between your online rating and your over-the-board rating? What we're going to do in today's video is take a look at the difference or the inflation between online ratings and over-the-board ratings. What I'm going to do is basically just share with you guys the over-the-board games that I have played thus far this year in the last 2 months, against opponents roughly between 1600 to close to 1900, and then some of the online games that I've played. I'm going to show you guys my own stats, my chess.com rating and my Fide rating. And what I would like you guys to do before we get started is comment below what your online rating is and your over-the-board rating is, whether it's Fide or USCF. Give me your guys' thoughts, what you guys have found in your own experience. There is a lot of interest. There's a lot of very strong opinions. So why don't we just share where we actually are at with our ratings so we get a good idea of what that might look like. Maybe you're like an only online player right now that hasn't really stepped foot in the over-the-board arena, and you're wondering what your rating might be if you're 1000 or 1200 or 1400, and so on and so forth. So this is my Fide profile, and yes, I've hidden some of the information, but it is indeed my profile, and these are indeed my stats. My current standard over-the-board rating is 1662 right now. That recently went up a little bit last month because I started at 1615 about 2 months ago. So basically, I just got back to over-the-board chess, guys, like 2 months ago after about a year and a half of not playing. And even then, I hadn't played a whole lot of over-the-board. But anyways, currently it's at 1662, and this is going to update again next month, and then even the following month as I've been playing a lot of games. I have an entire tournament. There are only... let's see, I have 10 more games that have not been taken into account here that are going to take into account. And we can actually calculate what my rating should be after all of these are taken into account. I'm going to show you guys. So I'm not going to do every single game because I already did that, but just to show you guys, let's take the first opponent that I played, right? I was at that time 1615. My opponent's rating, it'll say here in the box, opponent rating. His rating was 1758, so I'm going to put 758. I won that game, so make sure it says win. And then here you're going to put in this K factor, which I was unfamiliar with. I had to look it up. And if I understand correctly, your K factor is basically how many points you can win or lose in a given game. And your K factor, if you have not played, it looks like up to 30 games over the board, is probably at 40, meaning there's going to be a big difference. When you win a game, you're going to win a lot of points. When you lose a game, you're going to lose a lot of points, or, depending on the rating, of course, so that you can, it's kind of like when you join chess.com, right? You join chess.com back when I did, it was, you're put at 1200. And if you lose, you're going to lose 50 points every time until it finally understands where exactly you really are. It's the same idea, if I understand this correctly. And so my K factor seems to be 40 because based off of the rating change that I had so far from 1615 to 1665, it looks like only 2 games were taken into account. So it gave me around 25-ish points for each game. Anyhow, so if I just calculate that first win and I put my K factor for 40, I click calculate rating change, it's going to tell me right here, rating change is 27.6. I did this with every single game that I have played. So if we go back here to my Fide profile, basically, guys, I have played 12 games since I've gotten back to over-the-board chess. I have won 5 games. I have lost 4 games, and I have drawn 3 games. Keep in mind, every single one of those opponents were, whether it was a win or a loss, was higher rated with the exception of one other opponent. There was one other opponent, let me just check here, that was rated 1565. All of the rest were 1700s or 1800s. So it makes sense that my rating is going to go up, and I have actually calculated it. It looks like after all of the games I've played are taken into account, I should be at 1770. And honestly, that makes sense and kind of is where I was putting myself before I knew and before I calculated this. I thought that I would be upper 1700s, maybe 1800 on a good day based off of, the results of my games and the opponents and their ratings. Also, when we look at my chess.com profile and my rapid rating, so my online rating, it makes sense. All right, so this is my chess.com profile. This is my current rapid rating. I'm at 1935. I actually got to 1993 and almost hit 2000 just a few days ago. and then proceeded to go on a massive losing streak, which will be a topic for maybe another video, another day. But yeah, let's just say I'm about 1900, somewhere in the 1900s, hopefully 2000 soon here. So that's what my rapid rating is like, and basically most of the opponents that I'm playing are in the 1900s or the 2000s. Now, what we're going to do is take a look at my recent over-the-board games. The very first game I played coming back, this was against a, let's see, 1758 opponent. And just to show you guys, so I'm actually playing, sorry, the black pieces here. Just to show you guys kind of what that looked like. This was a Scandinavian knight f6 variation. I never played queen back to d8, so this was already kind of atypical for me, but we get this position, and I'm just quickly going to skim through these games, guys, to show you and just give you an example of what it looks like, the play looks like. So like we get to this position, right? And I'm hitting the knight on a2. So like already there's a knight on a2. Why is there a knight on a2? He has to go and play rook a1 to defend the knight, even though definitely the best would have been just to like reroute that. So it's already like pretty passive. And yeah, basically I ended up winning this game because of that very passive setup with the knight and the rook defending the knight. I spotted a tactic at some point here. Yep. And grabbed the knight, and then was able to play f5 because the rook is hanging after he takes. He didn't take the bishop right away, but if he had, it would have looked like this, like here, and then f5, and there's just nothing to do to hold on to this bishop and the rook. I ended up winning that game. The second game, let's see here. So second game, also a win, and my opponent was a, let's see here, 1720, I guess. I think I remember seeing 1720. I'm not 100% certain of the exact rating, but I think it was like 1720. In any case, it was for sure 1700. Okay, so I get the white pieces this time, and we play a London system. And yeah, basically this game was over very quickly, actually, because my opponent went with an immediate c4, which I believe is a mistake. It says it's good, but the way that they continued was not good, because they brought the bishop out to a6, and I basically just ended up winning a healthy pawn from the get-go, and converted. The rest of the game was basically just converting. I missed some wins, but lots of tempo on my opponent, and lots of good activity. Eventually, we trade a pair of rooks here, we trade the queens off, and it's basically just game over, because I have a healthy pass pawn here, and I won that game. I'm not going to go over every single game, but I just will show you guys a few. All right, now this was round 1 of the tournament that I played, and my opponent this time was a 1785. It was a little kid, maybe, I don't know, 10 years old or something, and he actually played really well, and was crushing me at one moment because I blundered a tactic. So it's pretty even. Up. I play queen g4 here. White's actually now a little bit better, but as you guys can see, I didn't convert very well. He played knight c5, threatened to take my bishop. There was really not much I could do there. The computer wants bishop c2, but there was some other problem with this. Yeah, I was worried about d4, and that's why I let him take the bishop. Anyways, it was a mistake, and I regret it. And bishop h4 was played, and I saw this move. But what I did not see was that, okay, I made space on f3 for the rook, but then he has a skewer on e2, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is pretty much done for. But I kept playing, and basically we converted, and I think he ended up sacking the rook here at some point, and he just let my king in, and it was really dangerous. So it's, rook versus rook. The pawns are now even, and yeah, somehow he took the advantage he had by sacking the material back, and I ended up with a more active king, and he misplayed the end game. Here it says it's even, but at some point here it's going to jump because I'm threatening to infiltrate with my rook, win the pawn on a7, which will then queen, and if not, like, I just have a very active king. So the game went on like this, and then I was able to force the rooks off the board. And queen. So that was the first game. And then basically after that, I'm not going to show you guys every single game, like I said, but after that, let's see, that was round 1. Second round was against an 1800. That was an 1801. I drew. third round against an 1853. I also drew that game. I was really happy with those two. Of course, I would have preferred a win, but whatever. And then fourth round was against an 1806, and that was the first game that I lost. I should have won it. It was really ridiculous. I'll actually show you guys. It's ridiculous. I've already made a video on this, but let's see here. I'm playing the black pieces. Horrible opening by me. I forgot theory here, and my opponent luckily did not really punish it. But yeah, we get to this position, and very quickly I realized that like there was a huge threat of with my bishops pointing at the king. Queen h4 is basically lights out. You can't push, because if you do, I'm going to take, or no, let's see here. Yeah, I think if you do, it's forced checkmate. Either way, you're getting checkmated there. So there's nothing really to do here, and he decided to throw in e takes f7 check. I took with the rook, and then here was a critical mistake. Instead of taking with the queen, I took with the bishop, and it was basically just downhill from there. But as you guys can see, it went from white being better out of the opening, and then I had a chance to clearly win. I was way, way better here. Like literally it's seven points up for black. And I lost this, and then it was kind of, I think when you lose, you know, you have a tendency to continue losing. It plays with your psyche and your, you know, your emotions and all that. So then I went on a bit of a losing streak, but that was that game. Now what we're going to do is take a look at a online chess game that I played. And this one is not necessarily the best example, but I think it's kind of funny. It's not the best example of a typical online game, but this is a 2000 rated opponent. This is a 10-minute rapid game on chess.com. And actually, if I had won this game, I would have hit 2000, but let's not worry about that. We get a knight f6 Scandinavian, and like basically, as you guys can see, the big difference with online chess, I blundered on move. What is this? 7. It still happens. Blundered on move 7. I saw that rook e1 obviously is, you know, pinning the king, and yeah. And for some reason, I just like, I don't know why I missed it, and I blundered. He took the knight that was free now, and I went for this little tactic, picking up the bishop. It just wins a pawn, and it's still pretty bad. The game went on. Basically, I'm a piece down, and I played on anyways. And you know, we get to like this position, right? And I'm still down a piece. My opponent finds a brilliant move, takes on a7 because the knight cannot take that bishop, otherwise I get back rank mated. That move really surprised me. It's kind of a weird move, but brilliant find by my opponent. And yeah, it goes on. I think we traded another piece, and here it's like it's clearly lost. I probably should have resigned, but then my opponent messaged me GG, so I decided to play on because I thought, okay, all right, well, let's see how fast you can play. And the game goes on, the game goes on. I'm trying to just survive. I'm trying to just keep as many pieces on as I can and play kind of tricky and fast. Now we're down to a rook versus bishop, knight, and rook, and my opponent has 1 minute 50 seconds. I have 2 minutes. Time goes on. Should be a pretty easy position to convert. My opponent's down to 50 seconds. And lo and behold, game goes on. 20 seconds. I lose the rook. 10 seconds. Can they mate me with 10 seconds on the clock? No, they can't. And they drew. And that was pretty funny. So that's just one example of a game, an online game, versus a 2000 rated opponent. It really depends on chess.com. You can get opponents that at, you know, that rating play really well, like really well, and then other opponents that play less well depending on how they manage their time and whatnot. And here's another game that I played recently online, and this actually turned out to be a viewer. They messaged me and said, hey, I watch you on YouTube, which was really cool. I definitely did not expect that, but I thought it was a pretty fun game. So we get d4, d5, well, no, d4, knight f6, but we're playing a Queen's Gambit exchange variation, and we get to this position. I'm really bad with d4 recently. Like my d5, d4 openings are just, I'm really not happy with them. And we are Just playing on here. As you guys can see, I already managed to snap the knight off at on F3, so this is already kind of a mistake by my opponent, but it's not the worst. Actually, hold on a sec. This is the best move, but that means that it lets me take on F3. That kind of surprises me because, yeah, they can't take on H7 yet, and if they take here, then I'll just take back with the other knight defending H7. The move kind of surprises me, but anywho, they have the doubled pawns on the king side, so obviously the king side's a bit weak. I'm going to try to capitalize on that. I go knight H4, or sorry, knight H5, and trade off the bishops, trying to get my pieces closer to the king slowly. Queen H4, and here I'm like, okay, we have something. I knew that it was not necessarily completely winning, but I might have something here. I had to be careful, though, as well, with white's pieces. He can bring the rook over on the g-file. He's got this bishop and the queen, although the bishop is in front of the queen. And I spotted this, the fact that, okay, the knight could give me a check, and I had to be careful of potential sacks here on g6 because I was thinking he would play this move. Yeah, because takes and takes. So I had my eye on this bishop g6 move, but I spotted queen f4, which the computer marks as a miss. It actually wants knight f4, but I was going to go after this pawn on f3 and then try to jump my knight in and go for some kind of checkmate. But also here just makes it so that queen f4 makes it so that after they take and take, I can throw in queen f3 check first, forcing the king to move over, take the bishop, and I found this really cool move. I took on e7 because I realized that the knight was the only thing that was basically stopping me from mating the white king. So if I take the knight, because here, let's just imagine, I don't know, I do nothing good. He can go, let's see, knight g6. Knight g6 check, and then protect the f4 square, because if my knight gets to f4, it's game over, no way to stop mate. So I took the knight. Whoops. So I took the knight, got a little brilliant move there. It's the knight f4, and then there's just no way to stop mate here. Even if the king were to move over, you have queen h1 check. The king can't escape here. So now that we've looked at a couple of these games, we've looked at my results in over the board chess and my rating. My thoughts are this, that the difference between online and over the board chess is about 200 points, more or less. Meaning if you are 2000 on chess.com, probably your over the board is going to be around 1800. Of course, this depends on the person. This depends on how much over the board they've played, how much online they've played. It depends on a million different things. You guys are welcome to debate that in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be someone who's outraged and, letting me know that, but that is my findings, and I think it looks pretty consistent with the results that I've shown you guys. So yeah, comment below, guys. Let me know what your guys' online rating is, your over-the-board rating, what your thoughts are, and yeah, thank you for watching. And by the way, if you guys would like to check out my other series, I have a Journey to 2000 ELO on chess.com series. You can click on the video below for that, and then I'll leave a description below for my new Journey to 2000 Fide series. I will see you in the next one.